super frustrated with what's going on at this point because of the lack of information that's put out in a timely fashion. Right?
Well, even Leslie's having trouble trying to figure out. She went on the website this morning and it didn't even say that this much was going on up here.
Super frustrating, and it's unnecessary. High fire risk area. We have asphalt and concrete. We don't live in the woods. We're not backwoods. We're not going to burn down necessarily. So there are circuits that we understand exist that go from the city out into outlying areas. And certainly if there's a circuit that's in the city of Tehachapi that services Keene and Hart Flat, there's a high fire risk area, certainly, right? But we do also understand that circuits can be isolated, so circuits within circuits. So when you're looking at the city of Tehachapi and the resources that we can provide to the outlying areas whenever there's an issue, right? Schools, retail, groceries, gasoline, hospitals, all of those sorts of things are so important. And when we don't have power, they don't have power. And when somebody in Stallion Springs or Bear Valley Springs loses power, they're going to look to the city for those resources. And if we don't have power, we can't provide those resources. When the Red Cross comes to town to assist with an emergency, they don't have power, right? We can't just set up at a school gym because there's no power. So if you can isolate circuits within circuits, why not do that? And I'm certain that we can, and I'm certain that we could turn the power on quickly and resolve this. And the communications between SCE and the public, so much to be desired. This is not rocket science. I feel like that we are under a giant science experiment at this point. We're in a petri dish, and they're waiting for something to fester. And it's certainly festered. We got to get beyond this, and we have to get the power on so that we can provide the services. Not to mention all of the economic harm that this is causing the city and the community. You know, when you work at McDonald's for $15 an hour, you know, God bless the hardworking American, and your shift is canceled, how are you going to survive? You're now behind the power curve. This is a big problem. So the state of California, the utility companies, and government agencies, we need to all work together to figure this out so that we can be better off in the long run. We're not a third world country. We're better than this.
And I spoke with a woman who she wasn't able to go into work today.
Right.
And she had already used up all her leave
Right.
to take care of her daughter who was sick.
Right.
So now she's at home without pay.
Right.
And I did speak with SoCal, and they said, you know, all this is very unexpected and that they're doing the best that they can. So that leads me to ask you, how directly are you being impacted? So can you kind of go down the list of all the major stores here or facilities that you mentioned that are completely shut off?
Well, we can start with the city infrastructure, right? We're planners. That's what we do for a living to a certain extent. And we have fresh water going out, wastewater coming in, police services, those sorts of things. So we have generators that we have online. So we're not at risk of any of those sorts of things. But we've also rented backup generators. So we have a backup to the backup because we want to be really, really sure that things are running well. We're paying $1,700 a week. We've been doing that for 4 weeks for these generators because we don't trust that Southern California Edison, what they tell us is necessarily going to come true, right? We're getting texts, emails, phone calls, the power's coming back on, the power's going off. Well, the power's already off or the power's already on, and then you're shutting power off without telling us, and then you're denying that the power's off, and we have to prove to you there is no power here. And so the communications, when you're talking about the grid in Tehachapi, and you're controlling it from Rosemead, say, where Southern California Edison is headquartered, you need to better listen and better understand what's going on at the local level, because we can help. We can be partners with you. We want this to go well for everyone. We don't want anyone to lose their assets, to lose their life, right? But then if we talk about the economic impact, I don't know if you could measure it. The direct and indirect is enormous. When we talk about the people that work in the city of Tehachapi, that work at Walmart, that work at Sierra Technical Services, that work at, a highly technical or drive-through restaurant, they all depend on that employer, and that employer depends on them. And then all the groceries that are lost, because everybody doesn't have a backup generator, right? And you can't allow people to come in the store and to buy things if you don't have your full capacity, right? So it's just nonsense, and we need to get beyond this. Somebody needs to stand up and be a leader and figure this out.
Correct me if I'm wrong, so, all the city, buildings, they have the backup generators, correct?
Not all city buildings, but the important assets. City Hall Annex, our police department, again, fresh water, wastewater, all those sorts of things. But there are some facilities that don't have power, and we have pockets of power in our downtown area. Why is that? I think that's because you can isolate circuits within circuits. I'm not sure Edison actually understands what's on or off completely. It's very frustrating.
And so what are you doing moving forward to help your community during this time? Are you offering different resources? If so, what are they?
So we have a very good relationship with Adventist Health, our hospital, Tehachapi Unified School District, and our churches. So we've been networking with all of them this morning. We have some resources set up at different churches and things that are going on now. So at this point, it's low level. Certainly the power's out. We don't have an emergency situation when it comes to a fire, earthquake, flood. But if we were to, God forbid, have something like that happen today, we would double our exposure, right? So we have a great network. Key Budge is our communication specialist, does an amazing job with all of that. So we have been here at City Hall all morning long, networking, meeting with in person, Southern California Edison, the school district, others, and communicating via phone with all the others that I've mentioned and many more.
And SoCal did say the community crew vehicle is at Stallion Springs at the community center.
Correct.
Do you think that's sufficient for this?
Well, I think that when they placed the facility or the van at the Stallion Springs Community Services District, it was an appropriate decision, for sure, because rural communities typically need a little more assistance in these kind of things. No one ever expects the city of Tehachapi to be out of power, right? And so if they're going to have one resource van in this entire community of nearly 40,000 people, that's not enough. There needs to be a resource van here at the city of Tehachapi out front, fully capable of assisting, answering questions, and allowing people to plug in if they need to plug in. It's cold. It froze last night in Tehachapi. We had a hard freeze warning. It's probably only 40 degrees outside right now. People don't have heat in their homes because furnaces typically take electricity to run the fan, right? And so we have a double whammy here, triple whammy. It's snowballing into something that is not necessary.
Don't say snow. Out in the outlying areas, Stallion Springs, Bear Valley, places that probably should have and were expecting the power to be shut off, but they can't even come into town and get gas for their generator, even if they are prepared with a generator, because all the gas stations are out because most of the downtown area is out unnecessarily. So let's talk about that situation.
That's a great example, one of many. So when you look at the basic needs that citizens need, gasoline, electric, water, sewer, food. If you can't get milk, butter, and bread, or if you can't get gasoline, that's a big problem. And so these things, I don't think the state of California and or the utility companies have thought this through appropriately and thoroughly. There's so many holes, it's like Swiss cheese. And again, it's a giant science experiment. I'm in a petri dish. I don't like it, and I don't think it's necessary.
Is there anything else you'd like to add that we might have forgotten?
I think we're good. Key, anything from you?
Or is there